Hi there, it's Kathy from Raven Vintage. Welcome back to my craft room. Come on in. I've been crafting away. I have glue and ink on my fingers. What else is new? I'm glad you're here today. I wanted to share with you some elements that we can add to our journals, and this is very beginner friendly, and it's more of a show and tell. We'll do one of the projects together. If you're a beginner with junk journaling, these are some great ideas for you to add. These are the special things that make a junk journal a junk journal. And if you're a seasoned junk journal maker, I'm hoping this will just be like a refresher of ideas that maybe we forget to use from time to time. So a while ago, and I'm going to link it here, I made a video of 5 must-know junk journal elements for beginners, and we covered pockets, belly bands, flips, tucks, and tabs. And today we're just going to maybe take it one step further with 5 more must-know junk journal elements for beginners. And today we're going to talk about tip-ins, tag toppers, floating pockets, envelope flips, and snippet strips. Okay, so let's start out with tip-ins. Okay, tip-ins, I don't know, grab some scraps and some of your little ephemera and washi tape, maybe some fabric. But let's talk about the difference between, let me show you the tip-ins I made first, and then I will explain to you what my definition of a tip-in is, because I have yet to find a definitive definition of a tip-in. I have watched a bazillion junk journal tutorials, and I have heard 6 different explanations as to what a tip-in is. And I think I've kind of narrowed it down to something that works for me. So again, this is not the ultimate definition of a tip-in. This is Kathy's. This is how I wrap my head around it. This is Kathy's definition of a tip-in. So first of all, let me just show you this tip-in here. It flips down, and I can write here and I can write behind it. This might also be a great spot to add a photo or a little piece of ephemera or something, just as a little surprise. So these are like little secret, it's like a surprise waiting to happen. So you can use, in this case, I just folded the bottom. When I trimmed this piece of ephemera, I left some of the white space from the cardstock. Actually, I didn't use cardstock. These are just printed on regular copy paper, and then I backed them with tea-dyed paper. But I folded it, and I trimmed the corners off on an angle so that it doesn't stick out here on the sides. So it flips down, and that to me is a tip-in. And I'll tell you why in a minute. So there's that one. Another way to do a tip-in is to use washi tape and apply some sort of a hinge. So now this one's opening sideways. Same thing, there's writing space on the back and space under here. So to me, that is a tip-in hinged with washi tape. Then, what's next here? I think here, I've made another tip-in. This one opens this direction, and I've used paper from the kit, the Teresa kit, to make a hinge out of paper this time. Again, same thing. It's a little bit of a surprise. It opens up into the journal. And then one more back here. Here's a tip-in here as well. And I used fabric as the hinge for my tip-in. So to me, the difference between a tip-in and a flip, or a flip out. Okay. A tip-in to me is, well, let's first mention something. This action right here, flipping that to the side or opening that, I think that's where we get the integration or the overlap of the term tip-in and flip out. So again, that I'm flipping that. So this is the action, is the flip. So I think that's where we start to get that overlap with those terms, tip-ins and flip-outs. And you know what I think? I think we shouldn't get hung up on it, myself. But to me, a tip-in, no matter where you flip it or open it or turn it, it still remains inside the borders of your journal. So either the page or the spread. So again, this one back here, it opens up, it flips down, but it's still, even when it's flipped open like that, it's still sitting within the borders of the page. To me, that's a tip-in. That's what I call a tip-in. A flip-out, to me, is when you add either an envelope or some paper or something, and when you flip it and you open it, it now extends beyond the outside borders of your page or your journal spread. That to me is a flip out. A tip in to me is something that flips open down, up, left or right, but it stays within the perimeter. It stays within the edges of your journal. And a flip out to me, whether it's at the top or the bottom or the side, when you flip it out, it extends outside of the edges of your journal. That's how I explain it. That's how I do it. But basically, a tip-in is like a little surprise in your journal. And you could have multiple ones here. They can be tiny, bigger, whatever you want to call them. We could do this as a tip-in. I could fold the side, glue that down. Now that would be like, you might consider that a flip because it flips open. But to me, I would call that a tip-in. As soon as it extends, if we were to do it on this side and glue it there, and it opens like that, so you have all this writing space, to me that's a flip out. But if it's inside your journal, that's a tip-in. So it tips in, stays inside your journal. That's quite simply how I have my head wrapped around it. I do think the word tip in or flip out or flip is interchangeable, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But just as a reminder for today, the purpose of today's video, just a reminder to use fabric, washi tape, or paper to create these little elements of surprise, little spots to journal on. Perhaps you could put a pocket back here with a little tuck of ephemera or something. But yes, add those little doorways, little flips throughout your journal. Okay, let's move on to number 2, tag toppers. So tags, if you can cut a rectangle, you can make a tag. So tag toppers. You can do 9 million things with tag toppers. First of all, let's talk about the shape. So let's turn these over so you can see the shape of them. So these two are your typical tag with just angled corners. The corners are cut off. And then remember to get your equal corners, when you cut, if this were a tag and I was going to cut this corner off here, I'm going to take this piece and flip it over, line it up in the corner on that side, and then cut along there so that my angles are the same on both sides. That's the easiest way to get your corners the same. So you can use a credit card or a gift card where you have your angles already cut, and then when you're making your tags, you can simply cut along, line that up to the top, and then cut your like that, and then you know that your angles are already always the same. It's good to have a little template like that. Another thing you can do when you're making a tag is you can fold. I've got to make it. This is a very big tag. Another thing you can do is just simply fold your rectangle in half like this, match your corners up, keeping a nice rounded loose there. We don't want to crease. Let me start from this side. So there's your rounded corner, and if you wanted to do some sort of a shape, you're going to come around and cut a rounded top, and you can make your different shoulders on your tags yourself. So if you fold it in half, you're getting this mirrored shapes. You're mirroring the shape on either side. Okay, so that's the tops. There's also a punch. I don't own one, but there is a punch you can get where you slide your rectangle into the punch and it gives you different shaped tops. All right, of course we can punch holes in our tag tops, and you can use a couple of punches here. So I have this slot punch, which is really cool, and I have just a regular circle punch. And one more thing I do have, I have a reinforcement punch as well. I can make these reinforcements I made myself. In my coffee shop, I have a free printable you can download to get those, to make your own reinforcements. Oh, there we go. So there's these colors, but then there's that lovely vintagey brick red color we're always looking for. That one right there. Can you see that? So I have that vintagey brick colored look. So you can grab that freebie in my coffee shop to make your own reinforcements just out of paper. Nice to have a bunch of those on hand, and then glue them to the front and the back of your tag. You can also buy white reinforcements, like the sticker kind, and you can ink them up with your vintage photo. It's another thing you can do. You can also add an eyelet to your circle hole, and then of course you can add bobble pins. Here I've made a tiny little tassel for that bulb pin, I guess they're called, and I've added the bulb pin to that eyelet there. Here a simple bow, tied that in for a bow, of course, those are typical. And then here I've just done lace scraps. So I keep a jar full of lace scraps. The teeniest, tiniest little bits of everything are in here. And I love having this close by. And then I can make, like I have all kinds of pieces like this. I have twine. I have little bits of sari silk left over. And even pieces, when I'm done what I'm doing here, like the teeniest, tiniest little bits, the little end cuts, I keep them because layering them is super cute. So in this case, I have one piece that's gone through the slotted hole that comes around and wraps around. But before I glued it down, I stapled with my tiny attacher some other scraps of lace. And then, so I made a tag topper that way. Now, tag toppers, you can go crazy wild with tag toppers, okay? There's so many different things you can do. Oops, there's my ruler. I made these little crown. These are the whipsies. Oh, how'd you get in there? These are little whipsies I've made. But even something like this. This is actually a tab from one of my freebies. And then I've done one of these little paper accordions. And I added a piece of scrap lace. And that would be really cute to attach to the top of a tag. Front and butt. So use your tabs for your tag toppers as well. You can also do clusters. Let me find a cluster. So if you've got a bunch of clusters made up, you could add them at the top of your tags. So many ideas you could do with tags. So it's always good to mass make a bunch of stuff with your scraps and consider those ways that you can do your tag toppers. Now we could get into a whole video about just tags themselves, but basically, like I said, if you can cut a rectangle, you can make a tag and cover it with whatever your printables or use scrapbook paper. Don't overthink them. If you sit and do a bunch of them at once, I see some people that have boxes and boxes of tags made in advance, and then they can just grab them quick and put them in their journal. And I think that's great. Tags are also great because you can use them on the top of a gift. If you, for example, if you bought someone a book as a gift, you could use their tag as a bookmark, and you could write your dear so-and-so just because, thinking of you, and then they could use that as a bookmark. So I just think that the tags are a beautiful thing to bulk make. These 3 tags are these are already pre-shaped for you and centered, and on this one you can see I added a pocket on the front, so you can just stick something in into the pocket on the front of the tag as well, which has nothing to do with the tag topper. I just thought I would mention that to you. So don't overthink them. Make a bunch of tag toppers, or make a bunch of tags, but just really experiment with tag toppers. And you can make tag toppers separately without attaching them to tags, and just having them sitting ready to add to tags later on. So like I said, little snippet strips or little accordions. You can just add basic ephemera as well. There's a piece of, oh, here's something I like to do quite a bit. Take a small piece of fabric and turn it into a V, and I just staple that at the top of the tag. This is a big piece, but if I had, like, maybe this piece might be a better. I just take my little strip of fabric, turn it into a V like this, and then simply attach with your tiny attacher or glue or a brad, and attach that to your tag. Very simple, quick way to do a tag topper. And then you could glue something on top of that if you wanted to hide your staple. Enough of that. Tag toppers. Number 3, floating pockets. Floating pockets are great, especially when you're new to junk journaling and you have an issue with committing to where to, oh, I forgot to mention this too. You can add little baubles to your tags. So especially if you've used an eyelet like that, or a ball pin, this is a great thing to add to your, don't have that quite laying down nice, but I think you get the idea. Okay, back to floating pockets. So if you are like new to junk journaling, you're just not sure where to place things, a floating pocket is a great thing to make, because you can clip it to the edge of your, here's one I made here. You can clip a floating pocket to this page, and then later on you might decide, oh, it's kind of boring back here. I think I would rather have it here. And then you can just simply paper clip your floating pocket there. Let's make one of these really quick. I'll show you how I do it. This is the same idea. It is just simply done horizontally instead of portrait style. So there's a pocket in the back, there's this front pocket, and then the big pocket here. This is the same process. I'm just going to show you how I do it with portrait style. So I like to, you don't have to, but I do like to use double-sided paper for these floating pockets. You can always just glue something in behind the thumb notch. If you used single-sided, it's fine. Well, you'll see what I mean in a minute. Okay. So decide what's going to be your inside. Here, the darker paper. So what's showing in the thumb notch is what's on the back. And then on one side, I'm going, like I said, we're going to make a tall one like this. If I wanted a wide one, I'd start this way, but the tall one will do this way. So I want just a little bit of a lip on one side, just a little bit. Like that. Okay. Then fold this over so it lands just on the inside. Just on the inside there. Okay. Now you can go this way so that that's in the back, or it's in the front. It doesn't matter. But I want to now take this and fold it up. Just so far, I'm not measuring. It's going to be in my pocket. Now, like I said, you could also go this way if you preferred, if you like whatever's on your paper, whatever shows, whatever you like. Okay, now I'm just going to give myself a pinch mark by matching up my corners to find my center. So I just gave myself a little pinch mark there. I'm going to take my circle punch And I'm only cutting through the top, not both pages, but I'm lining up my line here. So there's a thumb notch, and same thing down here. I didn't give myself a center. It's okay. There. So there I have my 2 thumb notches for my pocket. And now go ahead and ink everything. I'll try to go real fast. These are also a great mass make project. Very fun, very simple, great little project. Back. Now because they're floating, you might want to also ink the back. Okay. The first thing you're going to do is glue along that really tiny ledge we made. So this fold we made right here. Now you can also, at this point, you can probably change your mind. You can go this way if you wanted to, except you'd have to fold that back the other direction, which I think I might do because I think it's really pretty. Let's just do that. Sorry to change my mind on you. There, same thing. That's going to be just fine. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm changing my mind and I'll have to ink that side now. Sorry to do that to you. I just forgot how pretty this paper is. So pretty. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Let's add your glue to that little lip of paper, the little fold we did. All the way. Close that up. Easy peasy. And then we simply glue the pocket on the front by doing this side and this side. This. There. And now you can decorate this however you like. You could add something here or there. I don't have much in front of me today, but this holds a tag like that. Just beautiful. You can also put one in the back pocket, the large pocket there. There's that pocket, and there's also this pocket. So there's quite a bit of storage in this little float. 3 pockets, technically. Let's just put this one in here for now. Okay, so that, and then you could add, you know, like something to the front here or some ephemera of some sort. And again, these can just clip into your journal or sit in a belly band or tuck spot. Very simple. Let's just find a spot to add this one. Pens in a little bit. Yeah, that's really pretty right there. I am just going to make a pocket for this very quickly. See if I can get this right on the edge. Okay, so let's see, I've added a pocket, so this floating pocket can tuck inside this pocket. There we go. Great. I just wanted to pull in some of this green over here. I think that looks really pretty together like that. So like I said, if you started out with your page horizontal and did the same thing, flip your edge over, glue your side down, and then flip this up, you'll get this wider style pocket like that. Okay, so floating pockets. Book pages are another great thing to do with floating pockets. So here's an example of some that I've made. So I just simply folded the book page bottom, flipped it up. I added some printable, glued it to the top so we've got some stability, and then added I made some little fairies with Tim Holtz dollies and some butterflies. Added a little ephemera. These are a little wide for this journal, but I could have cut my book page a little smaller so that they fit, but these are floating pockets as well. Here's an example, the basic start of one. So it's just a dictionary page that I cut some off that side, flipped it around, and then you have that little spot there. So those can also be glued into your journal, but also used as a floating pocket that you just simply tuck into a belly band, or like I said, you clip them on like this. Okay, so that is number 3, floating pockets. Number 4 is envelope flips. So envelopes, we have done envelopes. We've done so many envelopes together. So but I thought it was worth adding to this list because it is, it's a ready-made pocket, and I just wanted to remind you that you can flip from the top. And if you're flipping from the top, I would consider this a tuck. Like this way, I would consider that a tuck. If it flipped from the bottom and flipped down, I would consider that a pocket because it has a bottom. Or if it flipped to the side, I would consider that. So if you had an envelope and you glued the back on, or the flap to that side, you flip it this way, you have a side, now you have a side loading pocket like this, of course. So to me, we've done so many of them, I don't think I need to demonstrate, but if you're interested, I have a series, go to my playlist, 100 Days of Envelopes, all kinds of ideas for envelope flips. The other thing is your flap does not have to hug the corner of your page. You can simply glue the flap inside the journal, like glue the flap down and still have a flip out, an envelope flip. You can also go this direction here, this way, so that you have a pocket there. You could use smaller envelopes. Again, you can go this way, fold down so you have a tuck that way, or a pocket this way. All kinds of things you can do with envelope flips. I think they kind of speak for themselves, but you all know how much I love envelopes and how they're like little mystery pockets. So just basically glue the flap down on one side so it opens up. It's so simple. Another thing you can also do is take your flap and glue it backwards so that you do have the pocket exposed, like on the outside, and then that part, the flap is glued down and you still have a place to add something on the inside, but your pocket is now on the outside of the envelope. So keep that in mind as well. Same thing, you can also put the flap backwards and hug the edge of a page so that your pocket's here. Now, typically we don't want things falling out, so just keep that in mind as well. But you can put a secret note in there, a journaling card, a photo. It just, all of these things add this beautiful, it adds beautiful elements and of discovery, let's say, to your journals. So that, don't ever forget, as Mary calls them, the humble little envelope. And then number 5, clusters and snippet strips. So let me see, I have one in here. So here is a snippet strip made out of scraps and a little bit of lace. Now this piece of vintage music sheet had a couple tears down here, if you can see them. So I needed to repair that somehow. So by using this snippet strip and gluing it along the page edge, it's not only just interesting and adds texture and dimension, it also helps solve this problem of the ripped paper. So keep that in mind, that these kind of snippet strips are a really great way to hide mistakes. But the thing about them is they are so much fun because there's no rules. They're so easy. And it's such a great way to use up scraps. So let's just grab a piece of paper here. So this will be my base. And I think I'll just make it a little bit smaller. So there's my base. I'm going to use a piece of book page. Actually, I'll just use this one because, and I'm just going to make myself, I'm getting rid of the blank part so I can just keep the text. Okay. And just make rip pieces relatively the same size. Like that. You can always rip them down further if they are too big. This is way more than I need, but there we go. And then take some of your scraps. So here I have a scrap. I'm going to use this green right here. Right there, I guess. So remember, whatever you pull towards you, the white edge is what you pull to the back, and the colored edge is what you get, what you pull to the front. There. There. I've got some nice green pieces here. Okay, so let's see what we have so far. So we have green and we have book page. Now let's grab, let's see, how about some, that's my base. Let's do some tea dye paper. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then let's grab some sort of fabric. So let's grab some lace. Okay, so these are like little, it's like a daisy chain. So I'm just going to snip those. A few of those. Okay, easy peasy. So just make yourself a little kind of pattern. I just start at the bottom, and just when you have, oops, with text, just go different directions. I think my snippet, my strip is just a little bit too wide. Just a second, let me make that a little smaller. A little more narrow, because I made my things kind of small. So what is that? That's about 1 inch wide. Okay. And when I glue things down, I just kind of leave the bottom open a little bit, so I can just tuck something underneath. Get a good one here. I need more glue. Tuck something underneath. Let's keep that lifted up. Tuck something underneath. We'll come back in with the lace bits in a bit. And now I'm taking my text a different direction. Let's go like on an angle like that. Green like that. And then the tea dyed paper. I know it's the same color as the base, but that's okay. I still need it to lift. And then we'll go this direction. That's a little tall, so we'll just rip it a bit. That's the thing about this. You just, so much, these are so fast, but they come together really fast, and they're so easy. Don't overthink it, but do some sort of a pattern. Okay, and I'm back to text, and again I want a different direction. I want an angle that way, and then more green. That one's a little wide, but we can come back in and we can come back in and tear the edges. So fast. Okay, so there we've got our pattern of our snippet strip. We'll tear our edges off in a minute, but let's now add our little daisies. So I want them to be probably close to the green so that they, maybe this wasn't quite a good idea. Just a second, I'm thinking, yeah, I think I'm going to use this instead. Sorry, I changed my mind. I'm just going to cut like little inch pieces here. Okay, now it's a little bit white, so let's just darken it up a little. Yeah, I think I'll hang on to these little daisies for something else. Now, take these, and they need to be contrasted with something else. They're kind of big. There we go. That's probably the length that's going to work for me. And just a little bit of, I just want to tuck it in a little bit. There. Just a little bit under here. That. That. Just a little bit. You don't need a lot of lace, really. There. There we go. Okay, what do you think of that? Super cute, right? Super cute, super fast. Now I'm going to just tear off some that's just a little bit too wide. Maybe that bit, maybe this bit. A little bit there, maybe a little bit there. Okay, to your liking. And then we'll find a happy spot for it in our journal here. I like it here as a edge to fold this out for a flip out. Like it there. Oh, I like it on the edge of that. Oh, I quite like it on there. I think I'm going to do it here. I like it on the edge of this music sheet here very much. So we'll just add some glue. So easy, such a great thing. And then you can come back in later and add some sort of focal point. Oops. To, that wasn't quite set yet. You can come back in later and add some sort of a focal point to it. Just glue it right on top if you want to, or you can leave it, or you can do a sentiment or something on it. So cute, right? So cute. So that's a snippet strip. So we made 5 more elements that we can add to our journals. They're simple, they're satisfying, they're perfect for any junk journal. And I like them because they remind us that we don't need fancy supplies. We can just use some paper. We can make our own reinforcements, scraps of lace, scraps of paper. We can create our own interest and visual elements and interactive elements for our journal without buying anything. We just use what we have. So I really like that part of this as well. So we'll keep building on these basics with more beginner-friendly kind of tutorials. I'll be using some of these elements in an upcoming video I have for some Christmas elements you can make in an afternoon. I'll be borrowing some of these ideas to put into this journal. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining me today for 5 elements for beginners. And if you're not a beginner, I hope you're inspired to remember to do some of these things like tip-ins. And don't forget to tell me if you have an explanation for tip-ins. Let me know in the comments below. I look forward to chatting with you down there. Okay, take care. See you next time. Bye.